one list on various things.
Oh, okay.
So,
No, I haven't seen it.
yes.
I get a lot of
Yeah.
stuff of it.
That's right. A couple of months ago, they published the extract of a report on a mid-sized black hole in the galaxy.
Yes, that I've read about it.
And then right now, they've discovered another solar system that behaves as much like our solar system because it has giants developing protein.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, this is sort of a base, but it might be an intermediate base, is my understanding.
How far away is it?
That I haven't.
But depending on how far away it is, it might be that it's like us now.
All right, well, good evening, everyone.
Or beyond us.
Yeah.
Welcome to the RASC general meeting for May 2016. Do we have any visitors or new members to our group? A visitor or new member? Visitor? Oh, welcome. We're kind of a nutty bunch, but hopefully you like what you see here. Before we get started, of course, you probably noticed that we have two amazingly intelligent and bright young award winners here from the recent Vancouver Island Science Fair. Glory's just going to introduce them and explain a little bit about what their projects are. And then we'll get to the business meeting, and then we have yet another in a long line of amazing guest speakers for later on. So I'll turn it over to Glory.
So we had the distinct pleasure this year again of going to the science fair. Dorothy was there, Diane Bell was there. David Lee is not here, but David was our other member that came. And every year we are so impressed by what the kids do. And we had two winners this year that we did both at one at the elementary level for grade 6 and one at the intermediate level for grade 7. So this is Nathan Harlan, and he did his project. Well, you want to just give your project name?
The project is called Project Ballistics, Trebuchets in Space.
And trebuchets in space would be really interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah. So he was, he has kind of done a little bit of some work on what would happen if you put these things on the different planets, and what's going on with if you started to make the trebuchets work on some of the different planets, and that's what he has kind of worked on as to what's going on. And what I think I was most impressed with was how he actually did some of his data analysis. Is as he was working the trebuchet, he actually had the little balls here land on pieces of carbon paper, so that he knew exactly where they landed, and he could then keep a track completely of where everything landed just by simply doing the carbon. I thought that was just, you know, like a brilliant kind of thing to be able to do with that. So this is Nathan, and then this is Ines. Corridor, have I got that correct? No, okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Ines in grade 7 from St. Margaret's School, and she has done something, of course, that is fairly dear to our hearts. Is on a little bit on light pollution and what's the solution. And I'm not sure whether she's found it completely, but she's at least she's gone somewhere for a grade 7 student to do some of the work that she did, and to kind of come up with an idea of how she can have lights turn on and off as you're going through a community, right? It's kind of as needed lights as you're going through. The lights would turn on, and then the lights would turn off when you're finished and you're not needed. And she's kind of showing a little bit about how that would completely work. So we're very proud to be able to, for the RASC, to be able to give these students some very small prizes, but we were happy to be able to do that this year. And so if I've invited these people to stay. Are you staying for the? For the times? Yeah, and, okay, because if you haven't had a chance to come down, maybe just right at the very end, you might want to come down and have another look. And Sherry has got a couple of other little gifts for you.
Well, as the president of the center, I just want to say thank you so much for coming down and showing us your around your projects. And congratulations on being winners. And we just have just a small gift bag with some local astronomy goodies for you to take home. And thank you again very much for coming. This was very cool. All right, so as usual, my report for the month, my aimless wanderings are in the Sky News magazine, so you can read them there if nothing better to do. We'll go straight to the treasurer's report. Bruce.
My name is Bruce Lane, treasurer for RASC Victoria. Our members account stands at $11,251. Our gaming account at $610. I received word back from the Canadian Revenue Agency, and everything is good. They changed a few numbers for our inventory for no reason at all, but I'm not going to talk to them about it because being under the radar is always good. You don't want to get anyone's attention about stuff like that if it's not really a big deal. So that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Our secretary is not here tonight. Neither apparently is our vice president. So membership, Chris.
Sure. So current membership is 229. And we have 16 people whose membership has expired in the last 2 months, and they're still on the list until the expiry of 2 months after their membership. So
229 is pretty good. Do we know what the highest we've ever been, or is that close
that
to it?
must be getting close.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for your memberships and for joining up and supporting us that way. Sky News, Reg.
Good evening, everyone. This month, Sky News went National Geographic. We had an interesting account of an eclipse cruise from Michael Webb, and his photos of the eclipse are on the screen cover, the front cover. But he also had a terrific jungle adventure. So if you haven't read his account, which is great, check out pages 4 and 5. You will not be disappointed. I don't want to disappoint mountaineers, but there's an article on K2, and it's not about the second highest mountain in the world. It's about new lease of life or second life on the Kepler space program. And it really demonstrates the ingenuity of some of the NASA scientists to keep this wounded telescope going for a little bit longer. And just to be breaking news just in, they announced yesterday in Miami that through a new technique, Kepler has doubled the number of exoplanets that they've discovered.
I saw that on BBC last night, yeah. That's pretty cool.
So if any other, got a limited number of these hard copies, and people want them, they can see the end of the show.
Great, thanks, Reg. That's another really, really good addition, so thank you. Let's just skip there. We pretty much, for those that are new, we have our annual star party again this year, chosen August 26th, 7th, 8th, open to the public, absolutely free. All I need right now is guest speakers, and it's a done deal. So if you need any information about it, you can send me an email. It'll be up on our website at victoria.rasc.ca, especially the coming months. There's kind of not blank page, but not very uninteresting page at the moment. We'll talk about book and guest speakers. Otherwise, that's on for the end of summer. So, and hopefully, there won't be any wind. Public outreach. How about the school outreach, Sid?
Thank you. The school program is winding down. We had a very, very successful year this year. We visited, thanks to Lori for all the hard work she does in the classroom, about 51 different visits we had. And the last one, the public outreach, was a Mercury Transit, thanks for Ken for initiating or starting the ball rolling. And we had about 6 of our members at Mount Colony. And our count was almost 200 visitors. And there was one classroom from Mount Dad, whole about 25 kids came up. Excellent for them.
Good, so when do you start up again?
The school program
School program.
is September.
September?
Yeah, we got one more school to go tomorrow. That's the North Saanich Middle School. And total number of hours our volunteers committed this year was 217.5, 217 to be, yeah. And Galileo moments, 2136. And very good year for us. And I would like to announce that Beavery is coming on May 28th. Greg Hicks is looking after this year. He's looking for volunteers. So please consider volunteering this on May 28th at Camp Bernard. So if you are interested in, give him a buzz, or I have his phone number. If you would like to come and see me, I will give you his connection. And he wants some volunteers there. It's during daytime from 10 to probably 2:30-ish in that time range. The weather will be terrific, and we will have solar scopes there. So come and see me if you like to volunteer.
Whereabouts?
It's Camp Bernard.
Super.
It's super. Yeah. Would you like to do that?
I just wanted to know where it was.
Oh. Anyway, that's quick report.
Good, thanks, and thanks Lori too for doing that. The school program was good. We reach a lot of kids, and it's, from what I'm told, it's a lot of fun, and you know, if we can just even turn a few of those into future scientists, then we're doing good. So thanks for that. I don't see Joe here. Joe did come in. There's no real problems with the website or anything right now, so we seem to be going okay. But Matt, let's do some tech stuff.
I can't even remember what I reported at Council for Tech Stuff. Not a lot going on. Of course, there's the Summer Star Parties tickets website going strong. Does everybody know about that? Were there any questions? Awesome, that's good. So that's going strong. I think it just sold out literally right before the meeting. So that seems like a good time period. It's open from the Friday before for the next week until that week's Friday. And that's for each one of the events going through the summer. Website stuff, we had 1,515 visits from 1,194 viewers. 72% of them were new people or people who use AdBlock. Average session duration was 1.5 minutes visit each. Beyond that, things at the VCO are going fairly well. Got a new machine up there with a nice solid state drive in it, so it's really smoking fast. And we bought the Sky X, which is a massive improvement over the Sky 6. It's a much more integrated solution for taking pictures and pointing the scope. And it's got a closed loop modeling with T-point now. So any of the fixes that we do with our modeling of the sky and how the telescope reacts as it points different places is actually taken into account when we're following targets, not just when we point at them, which is a huge improvement there. So well worth the $700 or so bucks. Yeah, I think that's everything.
So we're gonna have to go through like a retraining?
There is going to definitely be a learning curve, so we'll have everybody up and get certified, and that'll kind of go along with the checklist as well.
Right, the checklist.
Yes.
And the garbage cans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably time we did that, yeah. Okay, anything else? Good, okay, thanks, Matt. Does anybody have any questions about any of this, or just anything about us in general? Especially any of the visitors or new members? Yeah, Dorothy?
Or at the CAO, are the number of people coming in going to be kept track of? So what I'm thinking is, supposing at 10:15 there have been half a dozen or 10 no-shows, people who reserved tickets but haven't come. and somebody drives up who doesn't have one and wants to get in, there'll be space. It depends whether the numbers of people coming in, you don't have to, one, I wouldn't have to know the names, but I'm just wondering if that's, has been considered.
Yeah, you're not the only one wondering, actually. You know, it's kind of hard to know where to start.
Have we
So
gotten an
it- it's a
answer
question of
on the
whether the
commissioner's
number
part?
of vehicles being let in is, but it's the number is going to be kept track of.
Right.
Yeah, the commissioners are definitely keeping track with the little clicker thing.
Yeah.
And we also are sending a report from the Eventbrite site to the commissioners. Every week what we do is we send a list of volunteers, who's the person in charge, guest speaker, the whole kind of list of each upcoming Saturday night. To go along with that, this year, we're also going to be sending the Eventbrite report, how many tickets were sold and all that. And they're going to try and match that, you know, with the clicker at the gate. What we do in the event that people don't show up, and I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. I mean, it's been so, I mean, like Matt said, we sold out tonight.
Yeah.
For this coming Saturday, so I don't think it's going to be a huge problem, but sure, we're going to have some no-shows. And we've sort of been pestering NRC to just kind of, you know, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to do exactly that, let a few people without tickets in who might be waiting, and we have a resolution.
On a cloudy night, there might be no shows.
Yeah, I know.
Here are visitors from out of town or up island or something who just happen to be here.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was.
The thing is, we probably won't know who's not going to be a no-show till later on in the evening, and then by that point, there's probably not much point in them coming up, because most of the programs, planetarium shows will be over. I'll ask again, and we'll
Just throw in my 2 cents there. Unfortunately, with the requirement that was put on us for having this ticketing system, that immediately makes it very, very difficult to account for no-shows versus people who are just wanting to come up. And of course, demand, sorry?
If it's just keeping track of numbers, but I don't want a commission spent on.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, for an after the fact analysis of how many people showed up, definitely keeping track of it's going to be awesome to have those stats. And if we use the check-in system that Eventbrite has, we're going to get individualized statistics as well. But as to if we can just kind of make buffer room for more people showing up when we kind of see that there's not going to be a huge demand, I don't know how that would work really without it risking going over the allotted spaces and then people being upset that they reserved a ticket without, you know, actually being allowed in because, whoops, sorry, you didn't show up in time.
yeah.
Tricky.
The ticketing system sort of solved
Solve some problems
a
and
really
introduce
big
others.
problem, but it sort of created a few other little ones that are kind of niggling at. So it's one of those works in progress that we'll have to, you know, we'll see how it goes each week, and if it becomes a problem, then we'll have to readdress it and try and get some clear direction. So we're kind of learning as we go along with this thing. If there isn't any other questions or comments, then we'll turn the evening over to our guest speaker.
Sherry, do you want to talk a little bit about what's happening at the museum and stuff for Astronomy Day? Just
There's probably, a few people who don't know. So this coming Saturday, the 14th, is International Astronomy Day. This entire week is Astronomy Week, but the 14th is Astronomy Day. So we will be at the Royal BC Museum from 10 till 4. We have quite a large, what's the name of that hall? Clifford Hall. So we have pretty much the entire Clifford Hall set up with displays and interesting astronomical things. And then, of course, that evening we start at the observatory for our first of 13 summer Saturday evenings up at the Hill. And that's what we were talking about with the ticket system we needed to implement to get in, because last year it was just kind of, you know, first come, first served. We had people lined up on West Central Road in both directions for kilometers. I mean, it was just a gong show. We had people stopping in the road. So that's why we had to implement the ticketing system. Be better this Saturday evening, Saturday daytime, if there's, you know, you've got no plans, you want to be downtown, but really, really, really good display set up for 6 hours. And it's free. Pretty much everything we do is free for the public. We never charge for sharing the universe with the public. I mean, the stars don't belong to us, right? We're the lucky ones who get to study them or photograph them or share them with you. But I mean, big one to everybody, and we're just happy to be able to share them with you. So I can't think of anything we do that actually charge. Except the start parade, we take the occasional donation if you're so inclined, but I mean, other than that, it's always free to the public. That's what we do.
So I just wanted to check in with people for the special projects. The special projects.
Oh, right,
Yeah. So, 2 or 3 months ago, I put in for some, from the national, for what's called special projects funding that is given to different groups within the RASC for people who want to do a special project. And so I put in to get some resources that we can use both at the CU for the summer program, and then also that can be used when we are at other public events, or if Sid and I can use them in the schools or whatever. So we purchased 2 iPads, which we have here, and they eventually, what we will do is get them attached and locked at the CU for the Saturday nights, and then we can then take them out and then take them with us to other places that we need to. But we have purchased those, and we're also just waiting for the delivery of a display board that will be has 6 panels on each side that posters and things can be put up on, and it's completely, you can take it down and take it places. So we could put it up at the mall, or we could put it up at the museum or something like that, and put posters on, and it can be used at the CU as well for information. So both of those things are mobile, and we could be using them for our any special programs that we have. So that is that's just being purchased. Thank you very much to Matt for filling in for us, and for David Lee, who did quite a lot of work with me to get that kind of organized as well.
Any national information?
Not anything. I mean, maybe Chris, I don't know if there's anything else at national that's going to be.
Oh,
we're
I don't
having
know.
a big meeting in about
Next week?
Next week. Oh gosh.
Week, tomorrow.
Right, 1 week ago. Yes.
Tomorrow, yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on. So the national, usually it's around July 1st. This year it's early. It's going to be in London, Ontario, which we were last at in 2001. And this is going to be interesting. It's going to be different from previous GAs because it's going to be a combination with AstroCats, which is a big astronomy trade show. So for people who like to buy and sell equipment, it's going to be lots of fun. And unfortunately, I have to fly home, so I'm not sure whether, maybe fortunately, I have to fly home. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. And you're going, Laurie, and Jim, and I don't know if anybody else is going, but it ought to be a lot of fun. And the business, maybe I'll give you a little inside look at what's going on. We're going to have a new president selected at this meeting. It's not going to be me. I'm going to carry on as first vice president. But we're actually going to have a race for president. We're going to have 2 people running for president. One being Colin Hay, and then Brad Levine, and they're both from Ontario and both very capable people. So usually it isn't contested. You have to be sort of very limited about that. So that's what will be going on there. And I don't know, are you going to be here in June to report? Or?
No, I won't be here too. I was going to write something. Are you going to be coming back for June?
No, I will be. I'm going to be out coupling at our next meeting. So yeah,
Jim, are you back for June? Possibly. Possibly. Okay, we'll make sure that we have a.
There'll be some sort of report, but it will be an interesting meeting, and I can't think of any sort of exciting announcements aside from that.
I don't think there's gonna be an increase in fees, right?
Oh, no,
No.
no, nothing like that. There's a couple of changes in the board. I've got another term. We've got the president of Sunshine Coast is on the board now, so more representation from BC. A bit more of a Western focus, actually. We've got a new treasurer from Calgary, so anyway, that will be good. And,
Dipping into the Pacific.
that's right, that's right. So, anyway,
Thanks, Chris.
Good, thanks. So any other questions, comments, contributions?
oh, sorry, one more thing. We got a new center joining us, the Yukon Center.
Yeah, number
That's really
29.
exciting.
Yeah, perfect, yeah. All right, well then, gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for the evening. Mon Hani is an astronomy PhD student working with Professor Sarah Ellison here at UVic. After completing a Bachelor of Science with honors in astrophysics at St. Mary's University in 2013, Mon continued working under the supervision of Professor Rob Thacker and completed a Master's in Science and Astronomy in 2015. Mon is particularly interested in understanding the big picture of how galaxies form, evolve, and interact with each other and their environment. His past research has focused on modeling star formation and black hole activity in galaxy simulations. Both star formation and black hole activity are thought to be closely tied to galaxy evolution, making proper models of such processes essential to our understanding of how galaxies evolve. So please welcome Mr. Mon Hani.
Thank you a lot for inviting me to speak here. I'm very, very excited to be part of what you guys do. It's amazing. It's great how much influence you have on everybody around in making new scientists, young scientists, and just making science fun again. So when I was first asked to speak, I was kind of wondering, what is it that I really want to talk about? And it took me a while to send in my abstract and titles, so I procrastinated with that, because I was trying to figure out what is fun to speak about to a group as diverse as you guys. And it's very scary for me to be standing here. I come from a theory background. You guys are awesome observers. So I can't really call myself an astronomer. So it's kind of weird. And then a couple of months ago, I was visiting home and I was hanging out with my nephew. He's 3 years old, super adorable, awesome guy. And he asked me, "What do you do?" And I was like, awesome. He actually is interested in some kind of science. Very young to know. He doesn't know it, but I was just hoping deep down. So I told him I'm an astronomer, and I tried to tell him what I actually do. And after a bit of talking, he looks at me and he says, "Oh, so you're a storyteller." And I look back and I'm like, the researcher in me wants to say no, but I kind of am, you know? So it was kind of a point for me to reflect. So I was like, no, I'm kind of an astronomer storyteller. So he just burst out laughing and looks at me and he's like, "There's not such a thing." So hello everybody, my name is Mon and I'm an astronomer storyteller here. And today I'm just gonna share a story with you. The end of the story you all know and love. And you've all seen it before. And you've photographed it and you've looked at it. So we're gonna Tarantino it back a bit and see how this thing works. So here I show the Hubble Deep's ultra deep field, just a portion of it. And it's always been fascinating for me. That in an area of the sky just smaller than my nail on my pinky finger, I can see all this. I can see even more if I was to dig deep. So every little tiny fuzzy thing on this screen, except the ones with the cross on them, if there are any, are galaxies. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom into a galaxy that we all know and love as well, M31 or Andromeda or sister galaxy. And I'm just going to tell you a bit about what's in the picture. I'm sure you know more of me, and I've never seen Andromeda in this quality with my naked eye. It's always been very fuzzy in the telescope. That's what you get for living in a city. But you can see a lot of light, a lot of dots, and all these are stars. And then you can see a big blob of fuzzy light in the middle of that galaxy. And that's its bulgy central region. Most galaxies have it. And then you can see this like sprinkle of dust lanes, and it looks like a frisbee. And that is the disk of the galaxy that we all know about. But that dust is very important. So if you've never looked at a picture of Andromeda or a galaxy and focused enough, that dust is really what makes the galaxy a galaxy. Otherwise, it's just boring. That is the dust and gas that we all look at and say, awesome, that's a fun galaxy to study. But my story would really, really, really be poor if I didn't tell you anything about these galaxies. So galaxies are new to us. You know, they're very old. They're billions and billions of years old. But to us, they're less than 100 years old. More than 100 years ago, we used to think they're called spiral nebulae. They used to be in the sky. People looked at them and they're like, these are no galaxy. We thought we're at the center of the universe. And we've seen this. If you've ever been out camping late at night, it's very joyful to look up in the sky. You see this big dusty region in the sky. And if you just take yourself and go back in your memory to 2 slides ago when I showed the picture of Andromeda, and put yourself in the middle of that frisbee, and look, and imagine what you could see. You'd actually see that. You'd see pretty much this. See a lot of this dust that's so awesome and makes galaxies fun. You see a lot of it. And you see some stars. And it's beautiful to look at. But then, before 100 years ago, we thought they were just stuck in the sky until that moment. Sometime in April, I think April 26th of 1920, great moment. These 2 people hung out and they had a great epic battle at the Smithsonian. And after that, there was a lot of these epic battles at the Smithsonian because of this awesome moment. So it was known as the Great Debate. Until today, if you just go on Google and say, Great Debate Astronomy, this thing will pop up. And these 2 people had very contradictory ideas. One of them was saying, spiral nebulae are in our galaxy. We are at the center of our galaxy, and that's our island universe. It's a very old idea. It happened so many times in history, and it turned out to be wrong. So I spoiled it for you. The other guy was saying, no, we're not at the center of the universe. There's so many cool things out there. There's so many other galaxies, and those are galaxies that he measured the distance to. And he turned out to be wrong, because he didn't measure the distance right, but he actually knew that these are galaxies away. We're not at the center of our galaxy. So a galaxy, as we understand it now, is just a bunch of stars, a bunch of gas, and a lot more stuff we don't know what it is. And I'll tell you about it in a bit. And it's out there, hanging out, all as one colossal mess we call a galaxy. But then this man came along. This is Edwin Hubble. He has a telescope named after him. He must be important. So Edwin Hubble showed up and he actually measured distances to Andromeda and other galaxies. He measured recession speed, so he looked at spectra of these things. He used Cepheids, so anybody loves variable stars. So he used Cepheids to measure some distances, and he realized, well, we are in an expanding universe. And these spiral nebulae are their own little entities out there, and they should be something like us. And that is the moment when we can confidently say people really started studying galaxies as their own entity. So before that, it was nothing. And really, he said, the universe is expanding. So you take that universe and you stretch it really hard. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to fall out when I say that. The most surprising thing about our universe today, and forever, is that things change. I showed you a picture of a broken egg, then I showed you a video played backwards. When this broken egg jumps off the ground, collects itself, comes back to my hand as a normal egg, what would you say? I'm either that good, or I played it backwards. So if I do it in front of you, I'm that good. But if I just show you a video, probably played it backwards. And that is because there's a fundamental law in our universe that tells us things have to become more and more complicated. There's no other way. So what's my story to you today? I started that I'm a storyteller, and I have to tell you a story. So what is it? My story starts a long, long time ago in a land not so far away from here. About 13.7 billion years ago, to be exact. And there was a Big Bang. There was a baby universe. With every baby, you get this. I'm sorry if you've ever stepped on them, but they're really important. Because in our universe, these lovely Legos look something like a boring pie chart. So in this pie chart, I show you what makes our universe itself. So I'm going to proudly tell you, there's 4% of this universe that we know a lot about. And that's all the stuff we feel, we touch, we see, that emits light and does all kinds of funny things. But then there's about 23% or so that's dark matter. And that is stuff that just pulls things together, but it doesn't really emit light, therefore it's dark. We don't see it. So how do we know it's there? And then there's the whopping 73% of the universe, and that's dark energy. I'm going to proudly tell you, I am here today to represent the 4% minority. Because really, I have no idea what dark energy is, can't tell you about it. I can tell you what it does, but that's about it. What dark matter is, I know a tiny bit more, but still I don't know much about it. So we're going to see how this is going to go. Long time ago, this universe started with a Big Bang, with a teaspoon of atoms or stuff we see and feel, with probably like a couple of cups of dark matter, and then just pour all the dark energy you have into that universe and let it start. And the universe was very, very smooth. It was very homogeneous. So if you looked at it, it looks something like this. And I'm exaggerating what I'm showing here. So what I'm showing up here are particles of light that left the universe when it, like shortly after it went boom and started to expand, and have never been stopped by anything. They traveled all the way to our telescopes. There's a funny story about this. When people first found this out, they called it the cosmic microwave background. The reason they call it cosmic, because it comes from the cosmos. The reason they called it microwave background, because it was that pain in their neck that they couldn't get rid of. So they had a giant, absolutely giant telescope, and it wasn't supposed to be a telescope, it's supposed to be a microwave receiver. And Bell Labs was very excited about that. They just pointed it, and there was always this background they couldn't get rid of. It was painful, you know? If you're ever like in the city trying to use a telescope, all that light bothers you. So imagine how painful that is to them. So they realized, uh-oh, we haven't cleaned our telescopes. There's a ton of bird droppings in them, and that causes. So they cleaned them, and then they saw this again. And it was very shocking to everybody. Like, why are we seeing this? It just happened so that there was an astronomer at Yale that realized, you know, we're talking about the universe back in the day, this is probably it. And it was just tiny fluctuations everywhere. But these fluctuations that are exaggerated again here are 1 part in a million. So your eye wouldn't be able to see that if it was fluctuations from its top, like our sun. Our sun fluctuates more than that, and we still don't see it, because our eye can't. But there's tiny, tiny fluctuations. And what this represents is that some parts of the universe that are slightly redder are just a tiny, tiny bit hotter than the rest. And the rest is tiny bit less hot than that part. And that's a very bizarre idea. But what happens with this next is what matters. So our universe was very, very smooth. And then we started with this smooth universe, and we let time run. And as it goes by, you start to see some places are collecting together, others aren't collecting. Big webby-like structures. And that's very, very weird to us. But if you just wait a long time, you start to see seriously webby-like structures everywhere. Am I the only one who sees this? No. Okay, am I lying to you? Maybe. But I don't think we are. So this is a simulation from the Max Planck Institute. And what is up there is only dark matter. And the reason I show you this, because I said in the beginning, dark matter only holds things together. So dark matter doesn't up there. When the universe started, it started with a Big Bang. It was very, very hot, yet very smooth. But dark matter doesn't care, because dark matter can't be hot. It just sits there. So as it starts to expand, dark matter realizes, oh, there's this thing pulling me from this side because of gravity and so on. So these tiny areas that were a tiny bit cooler collect more stuff, and others collect less. And then if you give it enough time, about 13 billion years, you get to see this. And this is all the dark matter. But again, it's dark. How do we know it's there? In fact, we know it's there because of the way it pulls things together. So if you look at the galaxy and you spin it, if you ever played with a spinning top, okay, you know how a spinning top should spin. You spin a ball, you spin a frisbee, they all spin the same way. Galaxies don't. Galaxies spin in a very, very weird way. If you don't believe me, just go look at the simulation of a disk galaxy spinning. It's very bizarre. And the reason they spin in that weird way is because of extra stuff. And that extra stuff we can't see is dark matter. At the galaxy scale, like our Milky Way is probably 90% dark matter. If you look at the universe, it's probably 99% dark matter. So there's a ton of that. And we really don't know. And when I say 99%, I mean of matter, because there's that dark energy thing that I'm not going to touch today. So I'm going to stay away from it. So I'm going to zoom into one web here, and just the central web. And that's central web of dark matter. But remember, there's 4% I'm representing today. It's the matter that we see in its level. And that's what we absolutely love. And that matter was sitting there. So you made a ginormous, big ball of dark matter that has a ton of gravity. And it's sitting there with gas around it. The logical thing is, as if I drop my apple, it will fall. That gas will fall into the dark matter spheres. So every web has this central region where everything connects, and there's a ton of gas there. And then less gas along the filaments of the web. So what happens after that is gas clumps up. As you expand your universe more, gas cools down. That's very similar to leaving accidentally a balloon in your car on a hot summer day. Hot summer day, you leave a small balloon, you come back and it's bigger because gas expands when you heat it. Now, imagine you can suddenly turn the temperature down. It happens very often in Victoria. So then this whole balloon will shrink down quite a bit. And you can physically see that. Same thing happens with the universe. And with us, get into an elevator with a bunch of people, suddenly it gets hot. As they start to leave, it gets cooler. Or if you make the elevator bigger, same idea. The universe expands, it cools down. Then it cools down just enough that this gas can clump up. And here's a spoiler alert. Gas makes stars. That's why we care about it. So the first thing that happens after all that gas clumps up, we get these huge stars. And these stars are like rock stars because they're very big, they party hard, die young. So not too long after that, you see them dead. And they're gone. And that gas is back and it's sitting there. And then it clumps up again because there's more dark matter clumping. And then it makes more stars. And these stars collect together, they make galaxies. Small baby galaxies, nonetheless still galaxies. And they're very important. And then these tiny things make bigger things. So that Lego idea is back. Tiny blocks make huge things. And that's how galaxies really form. You make tiny things, get them together, add more of them, add even some more, and you see clusters like the Virgo cluster. One day, we're heading there. But I lied to you so far. I said that the galaxy forms, right? I told you there's a dark matter halo, which is that big ball of dark matter in which the gas forms, and we have a tiny galaxy. I didn't tell you the relative size of them. And this is kind of an illustration. This is still not true, but still kind of an illustration. The galaxies are really, really small next to their dark matter halos. Dark matter halos are huge. And as we look, every observer likes to take a picture of the galaxy, and it's awesome, because you see the galaxy. But what you really don't see is the ton of stuff around the galaxy. And that stuff I will share with you in a bit. So just to wrap up this part, this chapter, this is a diagram I'm sure all of you have seen before. And if you haven't, it's a great time to start. So on the horizontal axis, you can think of time moving from left to right. So beginning of the universe is here. Today is here. And on the vertical axis is that I sliced up the universe, basically, and we're looking at how it's expanding. So as you can see, in the beginning, Big Bang, we don't really know what's there. And suddenly it stretches really fast. The universe stretches really fast. And this is what we call inflation. And if you'd like to discuss that, we can talk about it after. And then right after that, the universe cools down just enough that the light can escape and never hit anything else until it gets to us. And that's the cosmic microwave background, the funny picture I showed you before. And then there's the dark ages. There's nothing really happening that's interesting. Although we're discovering a lot of stuff that's happening there that's interesting these days. But then you get the first generation of stars, about 400 million years ago. And that's awesome, because the first generation of stars, again, these rock star stars, they die very fast. And then you start to form smaller things and smaller things. And then these smaller things clump up and make bigger things. And you move in time until you get to see this today. So we started with tiny universe, expanded. Our expansion slows down after a while for many reasons. That's my story that I shared with you. But it's all right. Don't panic. There's a lot more to share. So again, I said observers like to take pictures of galaxies. I like that too, it's fun. And we see galaxies like this. So I wasn't lying when I said there's a lot of light in here. There's stars, tons of stars, a lot of light. There's these dusty arms that you see everywhere. And the red stars tell you that there's a lot of dust. So any observer be like, yeah, red. And then there's a lot of other stuff, the dark matter, that I'm not showing you because we really don't see. But then we can flip this galaxy on the side and look at it this way. So that's a frisbee you're looking at, now you're looking at the side of the frisbee. And it still looks all right. You know, we see everything in it, it's lovely, beautiful pictures, awesome galaxies, that's great. But where's all that other stuff? There was a ton of gas, made a galaxy, where is it? So this is what our Milky Way would look like if we were able to see all the gas around the Milky Way. But we can't, for many reasons. There's not enough of it. It's too cool, too compact, too hot to emit light. So it's somewhere in between. It's a very, very bizarre way of working. And this is something I work on. I work on looking through that gas at other stuff behind it and see what actually goes on. So this gas is extremely important for many reasons. Because a galaxy's light is fully dependent on what happens to that gas. Purely. You want to poke a galaxy, you mess with the gas. You want to do anything to the galaxy, you talk to the gas. So it's all about the gas. The gas makes stars, the gas feeds the galaxy, stars make gas again, and then the gas makes stars. So if you were to take away the gas, you really strangled the galaxy. And astronomy is a very, well, these days it's becoming more and more aggressive in the language. We have a term called strangulation for galaxies. So if you take the gas away from a galaxy, you change its color, so any observer can tell you what's happening to galaxies by looking at the color. You probably heard the statement red and dead before for galaxies. Also, galaxies determine the future of, so gas determines the future of the galaxy. You take it away, you may kill a galaxy. To make stars, and something dear to my heart, it feeds black holes, and that is awesome, to me at least. So it's all about what the gas does. So I told you how to build a galaxy, we gave birth to a galaxy, that's great. But how do I grow a galaxy, or how do I kill a galaxy even better? That's a very important part of the galaxy's life. And to do that, there are tons and tons of ways that we can go all night. But I want to share with you only 4. And you're going to look at me and laugh because these 4 are huge topics. But we're going to just briefly talk about each of them. Star formation, making stars. Very important, we see them. And stars come out of gas. So that's kind of important, doing gas. I already told you, gas goes to black holes, it feeds them. Black holes do funny things to the gas too. And these top 2 I absolutely love because I did a lot of research and I still do research on them. Then there's interactions, and that is like my wheelhouse. I crush galaxies all day long. I take galaxies and just crush them with each other. So I would really love to talk to you about that. Then there's the environment. And just like humans, there's the argument of nature versus nurture. That's the same with galaxies. You can build a galaxy, but it's not in its own isolated box. It lives in a society of other galaxies with a bunch of other things. And all that has an influence of what happens to our lovely galaxy We will. So I'm going to take a second and start with star formation. And if you have any questions, please ask them right away. It will become a lot more fun. Or do you think I'm lying to you? It's a good time. So stars. The best thing about star formation is that we get awesome pictures of it. The second best thing about star formation is that stars are super important. David Bowie said we are stardust. He did not lie. He was so right. So we started our universe with atoms, but I never told you what kind of atoms. I just said we started. The universe started with a whole ton of hydrogen, tiny bit of helium, and some say some lithium. There's a big problem there, but we're going to worry about the hydrogen and helium. Hydrogen and helium. Today we have uranium, a huge element. We have iron all around us. We have carbon. We're made out of it. There's tons of water, so oxygen. It's all in our bodies. We have silicon. We have all kinds of funny elements out there. So they all came from stars. The first stars were born and died very quickly. The second generation of stars didn't die as quickly. Some of them still live today. And then there are new stars that are forming just today. So we can look at something like this. The blue stars are your very, very young, energetic, powerful baby stars. Just like babies, they're very energetic. Same thing with these stars. And just like babies, they can annoy you so much if you've ever babysat. These stars do the same. They are very energetic. They bounce all that radiation away. Sometimes they throw out material if you piss them off. And then they make a tiny cavity. So if you were to look at this, there's a lot of dust in it, the horse said. But then you can go and dig deeper. And you can see that these tiny stars are making a huge cavity because they're pushing things away. They were born in the middle of the gas, and now they're just pushing it all away. They make a cavity so we can see them. But while pushing the gas away, they do a couple of things. They can heat the gas, and heating the gas is the problem. When you heat the gas, it becomes fluffy, it expands, it can go anywhere, you can just like poke it and it disappears kind of thing. It's like poking a balloon versus poking a rock. You know? Balloons are easy to move because there's not much stuff in them. Rocks are hard because they're so concentrated. So you cool down the gas, it can make very clumpy things, like all the dust you see around, like this stuff. But then when you heat up the gas, it's easy to mess around with it, and then you can bother the galaxy that way. So these are baby stars. They're important because they heat up the gas, they basically make stars out of it, but then they recycle it. When they die, they give stuff back. So in a nutshell, what really is happening is we start with some kind of gas, you cool it down just enough, and you let it collapse because gravity. You're unsung hero of space, really. And then it collapses. It makes stars. Now you can pick what kind of star do you want to make. You can make a small star. You can make a large star. Small stars are awesome because, like our sun, they will fluff up at some point in their life, making a red giant. That's how they do it. And then after that, they just let that gas go. And when they let that envelope of their star, so a lot of the stars like puffs out, but very gently in some sense. It just puffs out and it hits other gas because it's not alone. Remember, it's in a big cavity. So it makes beautiful things to look at, and that's what we call planetary nebulae. And if you ever run a telescope, and you know that, you should look at those because they're awesome. They have like the best colors. Throw any filter on and it's fun, and they're just a beauty to look at. And I'm sorry I don't have a better picture of that. There's so many nice things there. But the awesome stuff that can really bother the galaxy is really the large stars. So large stars, rock stars make big scenes. They die, but they don't just like poof die. They really die. They giantly explode. And that explosion is known as a supernova. There's so many of them. And they can outshine a galaxy. Last year, I think, there was a supernova at some point. You got a chance to look at it. And it was so visible. It's awesome. But these supernovae don't just emit light when they die. They really blow up. And that is, like, forget Mythbusters. Like, this is big stuff right here. You get this giant explosion. So what this giant explosion can do, it can take a beautiful galaxy just like the sun, put the supernova somewhere, and it can puff out a bubble out of the galaxy, throwing gas away. And we're talking like giant bubbles out of the galaxy. It could also push gas into other gas and maybe make stars, depending on the situation. Like it's a roll of dice. Throw your dice and see what you get. But you can really throw gas away. You can heat it up. They're so energetic. It's awesome. Not for long, but they're very energetic. So stars really change a galaxy's life. In the end of the day, there's a lot of stars in the galaxy. Our Milky Way has billions of stars. It's a lot of stars. And there's a lot of gas too in our Milky Way. So stars can really mess up life. But you know, when supernovae die, they make black holes. These black holes could be fun. If you're a LIGO guy, you can look at black holes and say, okay, we can get stuff out of them. They're awesome. But the black holes I like to talk about are supermassive black holes. They're black holes that are billions of times, or at least a few million times, the mass of our sun. So they're really giant. And these supermassive black holes live at the center of almost every galaxy today. Look, whatever galaxy you want, we're sure there's a black hole center there. But they don't just live and linger there. They have extreme effects on the galaxy. Black holes are heavy, like a million times of the sun. It's pretty heavy. Some of them are 10 billion, 100 billion times the sun. So what they do, just gravity alone, they can affect large regions of the galaxy. You can take all this bulgy region in the beginning I showed. You can affect it by just one black hole. Throw one black hole, it spins everything around in a different way. That's how it works. Black holes are awesome in that sense. But we also have a different understanding of black holes, possibly even more fun. So here, does anybody like spaghetti? Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. So us astronomers, we have fun terms for things. There's a term called spaghettification. I am not lying. And that is, if I had a black hole just right here, and I was to walk up to it, the force of gravity at my feet is so much larger than the force of gravity at my head that I can get squished, like stretched. Now, if you talk about it in a general relativistic manner, we can talk about it after. This is just like a simple, fun way of looking at spaghetti. And then I can get stretched, and that is spaghettification. But there's another fun thing about black holes, and this is what we believe black holes look like these days. So you have a black hole in the center, and it's great. Around the black hole, you have a tiny disk that we call an accretion disk. And that's just fancy words for stuff around the black hole that's going to get sucked in at some point, maybe. That's basically it. And then around that, we have a giant donut. It's called the torus, and it's big, fluffy. It's a lot of dust, just like the dust you kick around the street almost. Kind of stuff, a lot of gas, just giant donut around the black hole. And if I was to slice a point, like part of the black hole, you can, or the central region, you can see that. And all this region is very small. So we're talking less than 10 light years across. Like that's a very small time region in astronomy. And then the more fun things are here. These big cones that you see, called jets. And what jets are material that got funneled around the black hole, and for some mysterious reason, lots of people still study that, they got funneled up into this jet and thrown out. And I'll show you what they look like in real observations. They got thrown out so hard, we're talking fractions of the speed of light. That's relativistic matter at that point. And around the black hole, there's other stuff called like the corona and some gas that's just hot and hanging out kind of thing. And in a way, it breathes. You know, the black hole pushes it away, and then it collapses back down. And then it pushes it away, collapses back down. And we can observe these. So if you talk to any X-ray astronomer, they love this stuff up here. Because that tells you a lot about the black holes here. So these are black holes, but really, this is what we think they are. This is a galaxy, or what we think a galaxy would look like, at the very, very, very early time of the universe. Okay. So a galaxy at the early time of the universe, there was a lot of gas, it was kind of hot, it's kind of bubbly everywhere. So it's turbulent and just bouncing everywhere. It's really like putting a big pot of water on a stove and waiting for it to boil and checking it out. Like just pour like liquid dye in it, food dye, to see it bubble around. That's the kind of experience you have. Probably not as hot, but same idea. Things are just bouncing all over the place. And in the center, there is what we call a black hole, and pushing all that stuff out. Other than that, you see a lot of light coming out of here. This is what is commonly known as possibly a quasar early in the evolution of the universe. And if you look at those, you can learn a lot, but that's not the important part. We want to look at something closer to us, something we actually can photograph. This is a real picture. The galaxy is right there. It's a disk galaxy, so it's a disk into the board kind of thing. You're looking at the side. And from the center, there are these giant walking cones floating out. These are not like going slowly. No, they're really fast. And you see these like kind of hats at the top of the cone, like lobes. And these are called lobes. And what's happening there is that the black hole is pushing that material out and funneling it out. They look so much better. This is great. But as the black hole is pushing that material out, the material is not going to just go. Remember, there's a lot of stuff around the galaxy. And even more, there's stuff around what's around the galaxy. The galaxy is not sitting there alone. So it's like turtles all the way down almost. And then that gas hits other gas and heats up. So this is a composite image of more than one wavelength for the technical people. And you have X-ray right there, and you have possibly UV somewhere. But this is just an optical image, it's the rest. But even more fun, you can look at something that looks like that. And that is, again, real. So again, a composite image. All this is radio. Very funny looking cones coming out of the black hole. And the galaxy is very small right there. These are on the scales of like, you can stack more than one galaxy on this guy. So not small at all. What's happening here is, again, same idea. Black hole, stuff spins around, gets shot out, hits other stuff. Black hole can really throw gas away from the galaxy, simply. Goodbye. You'll never see it again. It's going to go so far away, you're not going to worry about it. It can heat everything. Remember that accretion disk I talked about? That accretion disk can get so hot, you observe it in the X-ray. And again, if you were to look at how things go, I'm emitting light in the infrared right now. If you heat me up a bit, I will start to blood. I will start to emit light in the visible, and you can see me burn, effectively. And then after that, I can go to the UV and so on. If I was really energetic, I'll be emitting X-rays, possibly gamma rays after that. So we observe the accretion disk, or that emission, through X-rays. That emission doesn't just like appear at our eye, it passes through the whole galaxy. It can affect all around the black hole and all through the galaxy possibly as well. So black holes really can mess things up for a galaxy. It can blow away the gas or just heat it so much that it's just not going to do anything. It's going to sit there bubbling and kind of waiting to cool down. So that's for black holes. But then interactions. These are the fun things to look at. You know, galaxies, again, not sitting there alone. They're with other people or other galaxies. And the galaxies are not nice to each other. They're like the bully that you don't like. So here's a simulation of two galaxies merging. So this is a galaxy, it has a bunch of dark matter, gas, no stars right there, just gas. And look what happens to the gas. Just, I'm not going to say anything, honestly, because it's just so much fun to watch it. So that's all that yellowy, kind of beige color is just gas after you smoosh two galaxies together. So I'm going to play this again.
In your model, what's the time duration for that?
This is probably, you were talking in billion years, 1.5 billion years. Depends how you throw them at each other, the time changes, but you can talk of average of a billion years or so. So that galaxy was sitting there quite happy on its own. Nothing's happening to it, living. forming stars is all right. Then another galaxy come by, and that other galaxy is actually identical to it. So that's what we call a major merger, because the masses are about the same. And look, when they pass through, the gas really goes all over the place, and you can't really track it with your eye. And when they finally coalesce into one lovely bubble, a lot of the gas gets blown away, some of it just fades, and then a lot of it is staying there, but the shape of the galaxy is all messed up. You know, if you've ever watched like Looney Tunes, I watched it a lot when I was a kid, and it's super fun. The Daffy Duck is running, and suddenly his beak is backwards. That's really what happened to that galaxy. It was fine, dandy, nothing is happening to it, and suddenly it's really looking like this. So this is the antennae galaxies. And these are two galaxies that are in the process of merging that you can observe. And they're really fun to look at. But goodness, like, where are these? What's going on? It's really a mess when you smush two galaxies together. You can really destroy the shape of the galaxy. Things fly around, no one knows what's going on. And then when things settle down, you get possibly a lovely big rugby ball looking elliptical galaxy just sitting there hanging around. And they really look like fluff rugby balls. But that's a major merger. So what a major merger can do, when this guy's smushing around, stars don't really collide. You know, like, you have people in a room and you can find a way to run around such that you don't hit anybody, because really, people are not that big. But then if everybody had a big blanket around them and they were just like waddling it around, you can't walk around without hitting anyone. Like, you just will hit people. And that's really what's happening with gas. Stars just pass by, not much happens. But then when gas hits, gas doesn't just pull itself. Gas has another property. It can press. You know, you can put gas in a syringe and press it, and it kind of bounces back. So when you hit gas towards each other, it just compresses so much that you can form stars. And in many cases, in fact, when you merge galaxies, if you have a major merger like this, astronomers would say, you are causing a burst of star formation. You're making a lot of stars. Because stars need gas to compress and form a big bubble of hot stuff that's bubbling away. So that's what could happen. You're also bringing new gas into the galaxy. So you're kind of like taking an old galaxy and bringing it back into its teenage. Really, that's what you're doing. But then, what you could also do, I promise I tell you how they're not nice, and they really aren't nice. If the two galaxies aren't of a similar size, we have a galaxy that's normal, just like our Milky Way, but then a smaller galaxy, you know, just a little guy hanging around it. All kinds of things can happen to this. Because you're a big galaxy, you have a lot more power. You have, any physicist would frown when you have power, don't use that word. But you can really pull things together a lot harder. It's just like grown up in a kid playing a tug of war. And like grown-ups can't win because you just have more force of gravity associated with you. So this guy has so much gravity, it can strip away all the gas of this dude. That's if it did not eat it. And the term for that in astronomy is cannibalization. Yeah, we're not really nice people when it comes to naming things. So really, you can eat a galaxy. And we look at other galaxies when they do it and we frown, like, you just ate something. But our Milky Way does it. We kind of do this. So if you look ever in the sky and you see the large and small Magellanic clouds, these are little guys that were eaten up by the Milky Way. In fact, if you just had good enough observations, you can trace back what we call the Magellanic Stream. And that's gas that was stripped out of the large and small Magellanic Cloud because they're not strong enough. Really, they're not strong enough. Because our galaxy is so big. And there's many more. These are not the only ones. There's a Fucus stream, there is the Sagittarius stream, there's all kinds of streams around the Milky Way. And that's just our galaxy. Other galaxies have their own kind of collecting small galaxies thing going on. So every galaxy grows by little things coming together. And when a galaxy becomes big, it's really capable of sucking in small galaxies, eating them, taking their gas and letting them be, if they're just coming at the right angle. Or a big galaxy comes through, and you make even bigger galaxies. But all these are assuming there's gas, right? What if two galaxies don't have any gas? Like, theoretically, let's take a galaxy, take a vacuum cleaner, take all the gas out, same thing with another galaxy, smush them together. Nothing cool will happen. They'll just become one thing. Because stars are not going to hit each other, so it's only the gas. And if the gas is not there, what's going to happen? However, you cannot find a galaxy with zero gas. There's always some gas in some form. Maybe hot, maybe cool, depends. So that's how mergers do things. And mergers are so fun. You can make fun movies. They're so cool to look at. And if you get to see them observationally, they're just beautiful, exquisite photos. The last one was the environment. And that is nature, not nurture. So, galaxies don't live alone. They live in big bubbles of other galaxies. We call them clusters, or maybe superclusters. But you put a bunch of galaxies together, and you make a cluster. We live in our local group with Andromeda and a bunch of small guys that someday we maybe suck them in or something like that will happen. But if you take a bigger cluster and just look at what's happening, that's the bullet cluster. And that is not one cluster, that's two. There's two clusters colliding here, and these colors are a composite of just the gas in the cluster. So if you were to look at this cluster with the optical light, just take your telescope, point at it, stare, you will just see the background. You'll see everything in the background. You won't see any of the purple or the magenta, pink kind of thing. You won't. But then if you look at it in a different way, then X-ray, this is very, very hot gas, you see these clusters really, really colliding. And the only reason I show you this is to just tell you that there's a ton of gas in clusters. They're not empty. You know, if you were to walk up into the middle of nowhere in a cluster and scoop something, you will get hot gas. It's not empty. Now, it's very diffused, of course. Hot gas is diffused. But it's not empty. And that is scary. Because what could happen is this. This is a normal galaxy hanging out. Nothing's happening. And it's moving in the cluster. Things don't sit in clusters. It's like a big hive of bees going all over the place. Galaxies move through the cluster. So there's a lot of gas around the galaxy, right? I already told you that. That is easily stripped. It's like a baby with an ice cream cone that they're holding like this. Super easy to take away. That's why everybody holds an ice cream cone like this, and they're like protecting it, right? But then, if you're strong enough, you can take that ice cream cone regardless how close it is. And that's what's happening with that gas. The galaxy goes in through the cluster. Gas from the cluster hits the gas in the galaxy. First, it strips that gas that's far away. But the next thing that happens, shortly after, is it starts to strip gas that's close to the galaxy itself. And you have a giant disk right there. And all this stuff that you see here, in purple, is gas that has been stripped away from that disk in a different wavelength. So again, in the optical only, you won't see any of this. You just see the galaxy moving and say, oh, nothing's happening. But in reality, the cluster strips the gas of its own gas, strips the galaxy of its own gas. And there's a name for it. One of the names is ramp pressure stripping. It's just pressure, basically, putting pressure on something until it's not there anymore. So I think I'm gonna probably wrap up, and my hitchhiker's guide in a nutshell to you will be, we started with a Big Bang. Dark matter collapses first, because there's nothing stopping it. It's not hot. Gas, on the other hand, is quite hot. So as the universe expands, it cools down just enough. And that gas starts to form stars. Stars could form bigger things, and they clump up together. Again, it's a game of Lego right there. You're making bigger things from smaller things. And that's hierarchical formation. That's like the key thing in astronomy for us today. And we didn't figure that out a long time ago. All this stuff is in the last 10 years or so. 10 years. But then after that, you have a galaxy. So what happens? Galaxies merge. Galaxies move around in clusters. Galaxies have stars. Stars die. They give back gas to the galaxy. And they can use more gas when they are born. And you have black holes. All these things together really shape what the galaxy is and what the galaxy is gonna be. So you change one of these things, and the life of the galaxy will totally change. So I'll stop here. Thanks a lot for listening. Thank you.
Any questions for our guest? Yes.
Does dark matter spin and does it feed black holes?
Dark matter definitely spins. So it's very hard to have things sit in a configuration without spinning. So it's angular momentum that keeps them going. So yes, dark matter does spin, for sure. Does it feed black holes? No. Because dark matter, no as far as we know. So dark matter itself is not normal matter. Like us. We don't really know what it is. So I may be totally lying. In 5 years, we'd be like, he lied. But right now, we don't think it's normal matter because it doesn't fit any of our traditional models. And it doesn't emit light, so it's not normal matter. So when you feed it into a black hole, it's not like it just doesn't go in. It gravitationally interacts for sure, but it doesn't get sucked into a black hole in the traditional sense that we think of. However, the traditional sense we think of may be flawed as well, because we're thinking, like I'm talking right now as if a black hole is a particle, and that's because I work in theory side of things, so it is really a particle for me that things go in. But in reality, you talk to general relativistic people, and they tell you, no, black hole is a curvature of space-time, and then things just go in and they keep going forever. And it closes, like makes space-time so stretched, right? So this is a very complicated thing. My traditional idea of dark matter being a particle, if it is, and a black hole being a particle, I do not think that goes into the black hole. So we think of just, when we model things, we throw gas and stars into a black hole, not dark matter.
Are those pictures that you had up here, where they were being taken, they were composites and they were being taken in different wavelengths?
Yes.
Are those your pictures?
No. I had citations under them, but then I accidentally deleted my final slides for you guys.
But I wanted to know which galaxy the one was with the lobes.
Yes, I think that's Sagittarius. I will pull it back up. This guy?
Yeah.
This is, sorry, Centaurus A.
That's Centaurus A. Okay.
Yeah, this is Centaurus A, and I should have had like labels on it, but
Talked a lot about gas. Is it like the beginning of the universe, so mostly aluminum and hydrogen?
so the beginning of the universe was, if we exclude the dark matter and dark energy that take the bulk of things, it's a ton of hydrogen. It's much hydrogen. So you want basically slightly tiny bit of helium, and then after that, a tiny bit of lithium, and that's it. That's how we think of the beginning of the universe. Because there's one thing I didn't tell you, but when you heat gas enough, so we know you heat gas and the balloon becomes bigger, but if you go beyond that and you keep heating gas, then you get what we call a plasma. And the gas is not really atoms anymore, it's just charged particles running around. And then when you cool it back down, it will get collected into its own configuration that it's being stuck in. So yes, mostly hydrogen, and hydrogen is by far the most abundant element in the universe right now. Look at any star, mostly hydrogen.
Yeah. Since black holes are really powerful, and I know they can bring light. I know Einstein's law said that nothing can go faster than the speed of light. But could a black hole pull light in faster than light could actually go without a black hole?
Awesome question. Awesome question. So here's the mind-boggling thing. Nothing can go faster than the speed of light, so the speed of light is the limit. Now, where are you standing when you're measuring the speed of light? Are you, like, let's assume there's a particle of light. Am I standing on it, or am I standing here and seeing the light flit by? Because if I'm standing here, I will measure the speed of light to be the speed of light. And if I'm sitting on the light and then go with it, it will be the speed of light. You just can't pull anything faster than the speed of light. not possible. And that's the weird thing, is that if you are moving at the speed of, or close to the speed of light, like if I put you in a train and it just send you very, very fast right now, if I could do that. And your time moves very differently. Time doesn't move like we think it does, you know? The time gets stretched. So you get close to the black hole. The closer you get, the more time gets stretched. Technically, if you are observing yourself go to the black hole, you will never reach the black hole. I don't understand it either. Trust me. If somebody tells you they do, you can judge them. It's a very, very weird thing that not many people understand. But yes, the speed of light cannot be surpassed, and then it becomes an issue with understanding when checking out the speed of light. But awesome question. I wish my university students would.
It's an interesting question.
Any other questions? I was kind of really terrified I'm going to get some observational questions. It's your time to ask. Anything else? Yeah.
Can you compare to the speed of light by hyperspace, the like tide warping kind of stuff?
I do not know. I will be tempted to say no, you can't, because again, we are sticking to still the Einstein idea of speed of light is the ultimate constant. Just you can't pass that. There's all kinds of fancy, like there's something we call in astronomy superluminal motion, and it's basically when you observe something and you think it's moving faster than the speed of light. So you could see things move faster than the speed of light, but they're not. There's always that issue.
And we understand that the university is expanding.
Right.
Is it going to continue expanding, or is it going to stop?
Oh, I'm very glad you asked. I'm afraid we are not going to get any better than this kind of thing. We are continuing the expansion, and it's never going to stop. So in the beginning, right here, we had this crazy inflation thing, and we just had it. It fits. It makes things work, basically. So it's questionable, but it makes things work. Then you see the expansion slowed down, but at some point you can start to see it speeding up again. The universe started expanding out. And that's because the universe went through different phases. So first it was dark matter, it was dark energy dominated. So you had the big expansion. Then after that, it was matter dominated, and matter has gravity. So it kind of slowed down, right? But then it continued to expand, and now it's back to dark energy dominated. And that is this guy. So you're starting to expand faster and faster and faster. So we're heading to a point where it's going to just be, we call it the big chip, where things are going to just get so cold. But yeah, we're not going back, just expanding forever. That's as far as I understand.
Does that mean that eventually, like all the atoms will be really, really far apart? Or will it be like big clumps of atoms where you come with absolutely no atoms left? Like,
You're so good. So the idea is that when you're stretching the universe, imagine you are standing on a rubber sheet, and that's being stretched. You're not going to stretch personally. But if I have you standing here and I'm standing next to you, we're going to grow apart. But you yourself are not going to get stretched, because you are kept together by your own forces that are stronger than the expansion. You could probably get to a point where you can get an expansion scenario where you're going to get shredded apart, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah?
also, if by then the Earth is consumed by the sun or anything, when the Earth slowly becomes a distance itself from the sun and every other planet, and then planets can become our part, or galaxies.
So if we're going to go back to the idea of we are inside a dark matter halo, and the dominating force is the dark matter halo on this large scale. So different clusters of galaxies would be far apart, but the Earth itself isn't. Let's assume the sun doesn't die, it will. Let's assume the Earth hopefully won't get stretched away from the sun. Will stay as one entity. But again, you can think of a scenario where you stretch so fast that you just can't keep up, and you will stretch it apart. Again, it's too far of a picture. Yeah.
when you have a hypothetical thing like dark matter, and you're using it as to create that part of gravity that doesn't fit any of the models to make it all work, or adding something in to make the math work. Now, how can you have that as a force of gravity and then not apply that to a dark hole, or it's a black hole? Would you need now another piece of matter? Do you have to invent that to make it all balance out?
We do apply the same laws of gravity to everything. So there's no special dark matter gravity. It acts the same. The only thing we don't give dark matter is the ability to emit light in our models. Yeah, but we don't apply special gravity. I don't know if I understood the question correctly.
Well, it's basically like because the galaxy is rotating, you observe it and say, this doesn't fit what, Newtonian and Einstein, doesn't fit the gravity model of what we're doing. We need another factor to make the models work. We've added in something called dark matter that may or may not be anything other than the math is just quite right for what we're looking at, our observations we worked on by technology. But how can we actually have that as part of gravity and then not have that affected by a black hole and sucked into a black hole?
Okay. So first, I would say we're very, 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 very confident dark matter is a real thing. Because when you look, there are many reasons why we think it is. I gave the one reason of what we call the rotation curve. So you can look how fast things are rotating at far distances from the center of the galaxy. That's just one example why we think dark matter. But let's go down the route assuming that's not true. Even if it is true, dark matter will get sucked by the black hole in the sense that it will get pulled, but it doesn't get sucked by the black hole in the sense that it doesn't get out, if that makes any sense. So technically, if you have a black hole around me, right here, there is what we call the event horizon, right? And inside that, nothing can escape. So if you have a dark matter particle sitting inside that, it shouldn't escape. There's no reason for it to escape because why would it, right?
So if it's you're collecting, using basically a black hole as a dark matter collector, shouldn't there be a spectrum with which you could see that at that point? Because it's all collecting there and not going in.
But it's not collecting it, it's gonna move around. Like if I take a dark matter cube and I throw a black hole in it, sure, it will collect dark matter, I think. I really am not confident in my knowledge here to say that black holes will suck dark matter. But if you just apply gravity straight up, black hole is gonna pull dark matter and it's gonna be fine. However, sucking it in the sense that we understand it as it's not there anymore. I do not know about that. I don't think I know much about the physics of black holes in that sense to answer that question.
This isn't a question so much as just a interesting stuff. This was really mind-expanding for me because I'm thinking about biology and how people used to say biology is sort of static, and how I've always thought of galaxies as rather static entities, and then all of a sudden all these interactions that sort of mimic biology in a way, like this system of chaos, and just makes me wonder, do galaxies have parasites? But that thing, I can't think of it all too far, but it'd be interesting. There's things that we aren't finding yet, that things that are going on in the life of the galaxy that are more subtle probably than the big things that are happening. There's other things too going on that are interesting.
Absolutely. So in the last 100 years or so, or less than 100 years, we realized we started to study them really well. And in the last probably 20 or 30 years, we've come a long way. So we used to think, okay, galaxy, what can happen to it, right? But now the tiny things are being studied in the sense that there's something called, let's say, galactic fountains are being studied, where stuff are pouring out of the galaxy, pouring back in, and so on. Migration within the galaxy, little tiny things like that we're studying. And to us, it is static in the sense that I was observing a galaxy today, and then observe it 10 years from now, nothing will happen because all this so slow time scales. But yeah, it is mind-blowing to look at it and be like, this is very similar, especially when you show like a dark matter simulation and like, what do you call it? How things collect in general. Like if you put moss in water and let it collect, it will, pattern recognition will pick up the same pattern kind of thing, because they behave very similar in that sense. So there is some very mind-boggling ideas right there, especially if you mix it with another field, for sure.
No question.
Well, I have something to shed some light on this question. So when you're doing your simulations for dynamics in galaxies, you treat dark matter as if it doesn't fall into a black hole because dark matter doesn't collect around the black hole. It doesn't have any friction that will slow it down when it gets near the black hole. So if it doesn't hit the black hole directly, it won't fall in. It can graze it and won't do anything. Whereas if a star grazes a black hole, it gets spaghettified, gets turned into an accretion disk, and it will eventually fall in. So when you're saying stuff doesn't fall into a black hole, it doesn't fall in simulations because it's such a rare event that it doesn't need to be taken into account.
So in simulations too, we don't allow black holes to do that. But I'm trying to think of real life, and genuinely, I don't know. I think in real life, it's like, what is? There's still the question: is dark matter a particle? What kind of particle is it? So I really won't feel comfortable, especially that we are recorded, to say that I just don't know much about that. But in simulations, I can tell you all about it. Dark matter doesn't fall into a black hole. Just because the way we calculate accretion rate in simulations is we look around the black hole and we say, okay, how much matter do I have? And we count simply the gas, because that's the only thing that's going to dissipate. And you calculate the density, from that you get an accretion rate, plus your uncle kind of thing, but we don't really count the dark matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you once again for coming. Thanks very much.